The explosion wasn't subtle, rattled my bird feeder, tipped my solar gnome off balance, and sent my cat darting under the grill like it was dodging a debt collector. I figured maybe a transformer had blown or some kid had set off an M82 close to the fence. But when I stepped outside and traced the sound of sizzling plastic, I found the real culprit, Lisa's extension cord, slithering over my fence like a discount spaghetti strand, still plugged into my backyard outlet and half melted from the overload. That's when it hit Mesh wasn't just siphoning power. She'd thrown down the gauntlet. I was ready to make her regret not sticking to candles. This wasn't Lisa's first stunt. Last December, she'd hooked her 30,000 light Christmas extravaganza into my outdoor outlet, just for a day. That day stretched into 3 weeks, 3 blown fuses, and a passive-aggressive fruitcake that I'm pretty sure was laced with crumbs of her broken ethics. I let it slide back then, chalking it up to holiday stress, thinking maybe she didn't know better. But now? Now she'd upgraded from seasonal mooching to outright backyard piracy, and my electric bill had spiked nearly due la 200. Levying next to Lisa turned your home from a sanctuary into a perpetual crime scene. She's the type who names her plants, spray paints lines on shared sidewalks, and quotes HOA rules like she invented them, which of course she kind of did. She's on the board naturally. No one elected her. She just appeared like mildew or a raccoon in the attic. So when my smart garden lights flickered and my sprinklers rebooted for the 3rd time that week, I grabbed a flashlight and a voltage detector and patrolled my fence like a suburban vigilante. There it was, a bright orange extension cord, cheap, frayed, and plugged into my house, draped over the fence like it had a free pass. On the other end, Lisa's pool shed glowed like a Vegas casino at midnight. I almost laughed. She was running a full-on backyard rave off my dime. I unplugged it, no fuss, just pulled it free, coiled it neatly, and left it hanging over the fence like an abandoned scarf. 10 minutes later, Lisa was pounding on my door. No knock, no text, just hammering away like she was the sheriff with a warrant fueled by entitlement and stale wine. I saw what you did, she yelled, not even pretending to play nice. You mean unplugging my own outlet? I asked. It's not just yours. It's on the fence line, that's community property. I blinked. Lisa, my outlet's on my brick wall. The one your husband dented last summer and blamed on bad lighting. She huffed. It's just electricity. It's not like you're using it. At that point I was half convinced and said she was trolling me, or maybe she genuinely thought electricity was some communal resource, like air or neighborhood gossip. Either way, I wasn't in the mood to argue with someone who once tried to report my mailbox for being too green. I shut the door and did what any sane person would. I headed to my workshop. What Lisa didn't know is that I design power monitoring systems for Levying. I live for circuit maps and troubleshoot voltage spikes over coffee. If she wanted a wattage war, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I checked my logs first. Sure enough, there were power spikes every afternoon around 3:00 p.m. right when her inflatable dolphin sprinkler fountain kicked on. The data showed my amp load tripling at odd hours, including at 2 a.m. Surge. Who needs that much power in the dead of night unless they're running a meth lab or a sketchy tanning bed? I hoped it was a fluke, so I set up cameras. Within 2 days, I had footage of her teenage son dragging the cord over the fence like it was a daily chore. He even waved at the camera, little salute. That's when I knew this wasn't just Lisa being sloppy. It was a family tradition, generational theft. I took the EVY Denke to the HOA. Their response? Well, technically, she's not modifying your property, so it's a gray area. A gray area like power theft was just a quirky misunderstanding. Unplugging the cord again wouldn't teach her anything, though. No, this time I'd give her more power than she bargained for. That night, I sketched out a plan, something flashy, legal, loud, and perfectly petty. I called it the breaker blaster. Not a real bomb, of course, but when it went off, Lisa would wish it was. It was a triggered circuit that detected unauthorized draws and unleashed chaos, a high decibel alarm, strobe lights, and a glitter spray that'd turn her yard into a disco inferno. I added a confetti cannon and linked it to a phone alert. When I tested it in my garage, the noise sent 3 squirrels packing and made a jogger trip over his laces. It was beautiful. But I held off. First, I'd let her think she'd won. The next day, I unlocked my outdoor outlet's cover and left it exposed. I mowed the lawn near the fence, even coiled her cord neatly beside it like a truce offering. Lisa didn't say a word, but I caught her smirk as she strolled by that evening. By nightfall, the cord was back, plugged in and humming with stolen juice. Perfect. She wanted power? I'd light her up like a Christmas tree on a rocket. The next morning, the cord was still there, buzzing softly. Lisa had taken the bait so fast it was almost insulting. I sipped my coffee, waved at her over the fence like we were pals, and ignored the cord. She waved back, oblivious to the trap. Before I unleashed my masterpiece, though, I needed to handle the HOASLess as a screen door on a submarine. They'd brushed off my earlier complaints with the enthusiasm of someone scraping gum off a bench. But now I had data, footage, and a custom deterrent with its own manual. I printed my smart system logs, highlighting overnight spikes that synced with Lisa's party schedule, paired them with camera stills including one of her husband blending smoothies on their porch at 2 a.m. Cord trailing behind him, and circled my inflated electric bill in red for flair. At the HOA office, I expected apathy but found mild panic. Turns out I wasn't Lisa's only VY Tim. A neighbor 3 houses down said her koi pond pump died after Lisa's last pool party. Another reported flickering garage lights during Lisa's yoga and rose nights. She'd been powering a suburban nightlife empire with extension cords and sheer nerve. A board member named Greg, who always smelled like toner, flipped through my EVY Denke with growing unease. When he saw the confetti cannon in my plans, he asked, "You're not planning to hurt anyone, right?" "No," I said. "But I'm making sure she never plugs in again." Loudly. Greg sighed. "Just follow noise ordinances." "Already done." "It cuts off after 30 seconds. He nodded, relieved to avoid a lawsuit. "Don't turn this into a neighborhood war." "Too late, Greg. She started it. I'm just armored up." Back home, I checked my phone's live feed. The outlet was live, voltage flowing, breaker blaster armed. At 2:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unauthorized draw detected. System active. I raced to the backyard, camera ready. The noise was Gloriousa siren like a fire truck in my flower bed. Strobe lights flashing disco shadows across the fence. Then the glitter and confetti, soaring in a pink and silver storm. Lisa, mid-mimosa on her patio, shrieked louder than the alarm. Her husband dropped a hose and crashed into the inflatable dolphin, which deflated under him. Neighbors peeked out, some filming a kid on a scooter yelling, "Yo, backyard rave." I couldn't stop grinning. Lisa stormed to the fence, glitter plastered to her forehead like a badge of bad decisions. "What the hell was that?" "Justice," I said, sipping my coffee. "And a legal deterrent you triggered by plugging in again. You could have killed someone." "It's confetti and a speaker, Lisa, not a grenade." She looked ready to throttle me, but 2 cops strolled and someone had called, expecting a brawl. I explained calmly, showing footage, plans, and logs. Lisa tried to butt in, but the lead officer stopped her. "You're saying she's been running her setup on your power for weeks?" he asked, amused. "Yep, and I've got proof." Lisa's voice hit a new pitch. "I didn't think it was a big deal. He wasn't using it." The officer turned. "Ma'am, that's still theft." Her jaw flapped uselessly. She wasn't used to, no, especially from uniforms. Then he added, "Also your 100 decibel speakers violate city noise rules." "But that wasn't mine," she wailed. "It was his." I shrugged. "Mine's legal and stops in 30 seconds. Yours don't." 15 minutes later, Lisa had a noise violation, a property tampering warning, and a suggestion to buy a generator. She glared at me, desperate now. "Couldn't you have just talked to me?" "I did," I said. 3 months ago when you first plugged in. You smiled, said it was just one night, and kept going." She stomped off, dragging her glitter-soaked cord like a defeated snake. I cleaned up the confetti, humming. She'd be back. Lisa didn't quit quietly. But I had truth, law, and 5 more breaker blasters in my garage. She wanted to play with power? She'd get a shock she'd never forget.